Well, campus is closed tomorrow, no in-person classes, and so I'm going to be putting this lecture video online. They said we were going to get a ton of snow, and there was very little where I live, but there was sleet, and that made me kind of wonder a little bit about the mechanism of sleet. We don't hear a lot about that. And so I found this interesting figure from the National Weather Service of Northern Indiana. They were just illustrating that sleet is when snow falls through a layer of warmer air, which causes it to melt. But then as the melted snow goes back down through another colder layer, it freezes again. And so then that's why it's this frozen mush that accumulates rather than the light fluffy snow, and why it's not quite freezing rain, which would freeze on contact but would be liquid when it hits. So that's kind of a great illustration, I think, and we all from the previous sections of the course understand frontal lifting and how there could be a pocket of warm air up above some cooler air as it moves in. In any case, let's look at some announcements for today. Homework number 3, the next assignment in your queue, is going to be due on Monday, February 2nd. So homework 2 is due today, Monday, January 26th by 11:59 p.m. And then that was the evaporation assignment. So the evaporation assignment's due today, Monday, January 26th. And then your next assignment, you've got a week for that, infiltration. So it'll be uploaded to Blackboard, available for you to begin working on, and it integrates some of the concepts from today's lecture.
We'll watch the majority of it. It's like 15 minutes long. And this is a video from, I think, somewhere in the Netherlands or maybe Belgium. Luckily, they have pretty good English, but they do have an accent. So I'll pause during certain parts of this and we'll discuss it. But this, how long is it? 16-minute video is kind of like the distillation of a PhD in subsurface hydrology. It's got so much really great information, and they went to a huge amount of trouble to set up the illustrations. So it's not really dense, it's just really well done. I hope that you'll enjoy it. Let's dim the lights to make it a little bit easier to see. Don't fall asleep. I know it's after lunch, so pinch yourself, or you can stand up in the back if you start feeling drowsy. Let me pause the recorder. I think that's a really good video, and maybe to solidify the lessons that you've learned in that, it wouldn't be a bad idea to watch it another time. So if you're looking for like a cheap date night, then I think this would be a good option for you. Or just if Netflix gets boring, put this on again tonight or tomorrow. But just to reiterate, the capillary effect is a really important factor that helps to describe the movement of a wetting front through water. The difference, there isn't just one void diameter in soils. There's a distribution of void sizes. You've got some big openings in the soil, some small openings in the soil, and the small openings are the ones that generate the highest suction. And so the water can rise pretty high above the water table if you have a lot of fine voids. The water penetrates quickly through sand when there is pooling at the surface of the sand, because sand has a high hydraulic conductivity. But sand has a low suction head, and so water has a difficult time penetrating into the sand when it's not saturated. So the loam is fully, like the voids in the loam are fully saturated pretty close to where we see the standing water. But the further we get away from it, some of the voids have air, some of the voids have water, and it's not until most of the voids have been saturated and the suction tension is low in the loam that then the water will penetrate into the sand. So it's when the suction head is equal of the two. And just to jump ahead through the slides a little bit, we have a table that tells us the suction head, the wetting front soil suction head of different soils. And so sand, you can see, has 4.95 centimeters of wetting front soil suction head. A clay loam, which is what we saw a lot in this video, has on an average, there's a range, but as a midpoint value, 20.88. So what we're seeing is that the water doesn't go into the sand until the clay loam is mostly saturated and the driving force has reduced. That's when the water starts to penetrate into the sand. Does anybody have any questions about the video specifically before we get into the slides? All right. Well, we'll do some problem solving with Darcy's law in a future lecture, but I hope this is something that you heard about when you took geotechnical engineering. Has everybody here previously taken, or is anybody in geotechnical this semester? This semester? Okay. So Darcy's law describes what flow rate you would get through a packed column of soil. So think about, what if you had a pipe, here's this pipe, and it's got some certain length to it, and you pack the pipe full of soil. It could be sand, clay, loam, whatever, gravel. You pack it with a media of some sort, and then you connect it to two different tanks. And the tanks have a difference in water height. On the left, the water is at a higher elevation than the tank on the right. And so there's a driving force that's going to push the water through that packed column of soil. So Darcy's law is an equation that says what the flow rate will be based on the driving force. So it's the head difference divided by the length, the cross-sectional area that the water is flowing through. So A is the cross-sectional area. In this case, it would be a cylindrical tube packed full of soil, so the area would be a circle. And then K is a proportionality factor known as the hydraulic conductivity. And so if we jump back to this table again that I've given you the preview of, it has hydraulic conductivity. For example, sand would have a typical hydraulic conductivity of 11.78 centimeters per hour. And you can think of that as a velocity. Whereas at the other end of the spectrum, clay has a hydraulic conductivity of 0.03 centimeters per hour. So water moves through clay very, very slowly because the voids are so small. If you think about head loss, like water flowing through a pipe, when there's a lot of energy loss due to pipe friction, then the velocity of flow will be lower. And the same is true if we're thinking about the direction that water is going to get through this column full of soil. It's moving in a circuitous path from void to void. And so it's having to move around a lot of obstacles. And so the path that a water molecule takes is it's kind of going through a really small diameter pipe. And there's lots of different small diameter pipes in that packed column. So Darcy's law describes the rate of water flow through a packed media. And the reason why we're interested is because we want to know, in the case of a storm, how quickly water is going to travel down through the soil. And so I've already told you about what a wetting front is. That's when you've got ponding at the surface. It is how quickly the water is penetrating down through the soil. So this figure is saying that as you go down through the soil, there's some initial moisture content. And in the examples that we were just watching in that video, the soil, it said, was air dried. And so it's not baked dry, but being air dried soil, it's pretty much devoid of any moisture prior to those experiments. Most of the time out in nature, the soil will have some moisture in it to begin with. It won't be completely air dried because there would have been some storm a few weeks ago that left some residual water in the soil. So in actuality, what's happening is that there's rainfall at the surface and the moisture is penetrating down through time. And there is this curve of moisture content. And so see how it says moisture content and it's to the right? So this is saying like 0 moisture content, and the further you get to the right, you have saturation. So this is the maximum amount of water that can be in the soil. Saturation means that all of the voids are completely full of water. And as you go down through the soil, further away from where the water is being applied, then it's increasingly drier and drier soil, meaning that there's less water, more of the voids have air in it. So this is a really complicated curve, and we have to come up with some sort of a model or a method to simplify that curve. And the green amped simplification is a way of predicting how quickly the water moves down through the soil when it rains and when there's ponding at the surface. And so it says, rather than having this gradually decreasing water content, let's just say that there's the initial water content and then fully saturated, because that's the simplification that it takes to get something that we can compute easily in terms of how long it's going to take for the water to move down through the soil. And even with this huge simplification, it'll still be a little bit quantitatively rigorous for us to calculate how long it takes for the water to penetrate a certain distance. And so L is how deeply the water is penetrated to a certain time. Theta sub I is the initial water content. There's the total porosity, and the delta theta is how much additional water is added when you go from the initial water content to fully saturated. So here at the surface, there's some ponding. So H naught is the depth of ponding at the surface. And we know that the soil has some hydraulic conductivity. And if we apply the Darcy equation to this approach of a wetting front, and what are the factors that drive wetting? It's gravity and suction. Then we can estimate the infiltration rate at a given instant in time based on how deeply the wetting front has already penetrated. So it's approximately, the infiltration rate is the hydraulic conductivity multiplied by the wetting front soil suction head plus the infiltration depth divided by the infiltration depth. And the reason why we have L in both the numerator and the denominator of this expression is that we want to have a declining potential rate of infiltration, meaning there should be a fast infiltration rate at the beginning of the storm and a lower infiltration rate as the storm goes on and on. I mean, that's what we know, is that the wetting front progresses quickly at first. Like if we were watching these videos, like what was a good one? This, all right? So the water velocity is really quick at the beginning. Like watch the sand on the left side.
So with respect to their ability to transfer.
So it's going to go really quickly at first, but then it slows down over time, because as the voids increasingly fill up, then there's less of a driving force. The driving force is the difference between the dry soil wetting front soil suction head, and when it's saturated, it's just gravitational effects that are driving the water down. So the green amped simplification is a way of predicting the infiltration rate. So precipitation rate is something we can look up off of the precipitation data frequency server. You know, like for a certain storm, for the 24-hour storm and a 50-year return period, you can go to the map, click on a location, and it'll tell you the rainfall intensity over that 24-hour period. We're going to use this to predict how quickly the water's penetrating into the soil. And then if the rainfall intensity is greater than the soil infiltration rate, then that means there's going to be runoff. When rainfall is greater than infiltration, that gives us runoff. If the infiltration rate is larger than the precipitation rate, then there won't be ponding, then there won't be runoff. So the water is penetrating down into the soil, then the driving force decreases because more of the soil is saturated. There isn't as much suction drawing it down. When you have a small length of the wetting front, then the infiltration rate is large. So that means early in a storm, there's a high infiltration rate because the water hasn't yet overcome all of the tension in the soil. The soil is, you can think of it like the soil's really hungry for the water. Same as you when you are hungry at night. You eat quickly at first, and you slow down. So the soil, when it's dry, has a high appetite for the water. The suction head is high, the infiltration rate will be high. And then as the wetting front depth increases, then the rate of infiltration goes down. So over time, we could find the cumulative infiltration. This lowercase f is infiltration rate. So if you look at the units, it's centimeters per second. Cumulative infiltration would have units of length. So what we're going to have to do is multiply the infiltration rate by some time period and find out the cumulative effect. And because the infiltration rate is changing, we can't just multiply the infiltration rate by the entire period that we're interested in. We have to look at little increments. So maybe we could measure every 1/10 of an hour what is the infiltration rate and estimate the infiltration depth during that time period in question. So dt could be your sampling frequency for how quickly you know the rainfall was falling. So what this figure is illustrating is, remember, capital F is cumulative infiltration, and it is getting flatter and flatter because the infiltration rate is declining over time. So the initial infiltration rate is high. The infiltration rate is declining as the voids become more fully saturated and as the suction pressure decreases. And they've overlain these infiltration rate on top of a rainfall hydrograph. So the rainfall hydrograph is saying what is the infiltration rate versus what is the precipitation rate. So how many inches per hour is the rainfall intensity, and if the rainfall intensity is higher than the infiltration rate, then that's going to be, they're saying they're shading it separately, that light gray, they're calling it rainfall excess. And so all the rainfall that's below the infiltration rate curve would be the water that's actually infiltrating. And it's only when there's more rainfall intensity than there is infiltration rate that you'd have runoff. So rainfall excess is when precipitation rate is greater than infiltration rate. And this is just another way of looking at water moving down through wet soil. It's fully saturating the dry soil all at once in the green amp simplification. And we know that it's actually more gradual than that, but we're just saying it's immediately going from the initial water content to fully saturated. And so the amount of water that's infiltrating, the total quantity of it, would be the depth of the soil wetting front multiplied by the difference in the porosity and the initial water content. So the difference between those two is how much additional moisture went in.